Well, Congress struck a last-minute deal to avert a government shutdown. The list of what's on President-elect Trump and Republicans' plates in the new Congress continues to grow. Joining us right now is incoming chairman of the Financial Services Committee, French Hill. Good morning to you. Yeah, let me start with this, if you'd indulge me, which is, I think on Friday or late last week when the government was on the cusp of a shutdown, and then everything seemed to work out in its own way. There became all of these questions about just how hard things are going to be in 2025 and how much power and authority President-elect Trump is going to have. And before we get into anything else, I just want you to speak to that because I'm sort of curious what your take is, given everything that we saw Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, really Thursday, Friday of last week.
Well, good morning. Happy holidays to you. Look, we've had narrow majorities in the House and in the Senate under Pelosi, McCarthy, and now Johnson leadership. So that's not going to change. It's still narrow. And last week, I think you saw sort of a cool hand Luke moment where what we have here is a failure to communicate. I don't think we had clear expectations on what people wanted out of the CR. Most Republicans in the House wanted a clean CR with obviously the appropriation for hurricane relief and for some emergency relief for farmers, and that's about it. And that created a controversy. But what I think we should have going forward is a much cleaner approach, because I believe the incoming Trump administration, incoming Majority Leader John Thune, and our Speaker, Mike Johnson, will have a plan for what's coming to the floor and how to lead Republican priorities like inflation, like border security, like energy.
In terms of just how everybody is either together or not, how do you sort of see the factions and where the fault lines are among this group, especially when it comes to the tax policy and tariffs, which I think is what's going to come next here?
Ways and Means Committee Chair Jason Smith of Missouri, I think, has it right, which is, I believe that using budget reconciliation early in the year to accomplish the border security objectives, the all-of-the-above energy strategy objectives where we can, and also lay out the House Republicans' view on what tax cuts should be extended. I think that's the best way to approach reconciliation. Let's cut spending. Let's reverse the curse on an avalanche of spending that we've seen since the pandemic that's unsustainable. Let's put our country on the right regulatory and tax pro-growth supply side approach, and let's secure our border and have an all-of-the-above energy strategy. I believe Smith's got it right in recommending that we do one large reconciliation package this year.
How do you think about restrictions right now on China investment? President Biden has that executive order that governs outbound investment.
Biden executive order is there. It remains to be seen how it will work. I think one of the two issues that Congress has debated on a bicameral basis, and certainly inside the House, are how best to do it. We want to restrict American investment in sensitive dual-use technologies in China. That's clear. There's agreement about that. But what's the best way to do that and get it enforced is the concern. For example, if you just say we're going to restrict investments in AI, well, that's ridiculous. That's way too broad. I mean, everything is going to have artificial intelligence as a part of it. So how do we narrow the definition as it relates to national security concerns to investment in China on artificial intelligence? And then more particularly, how do you enforce it? And some have argued that an entity approach is the best way to do that. Andy Barr of Kentucky has led that argument. I believe that that's really the ideal approach, but we've not had a landing space for how to get that done in the House.
The other question I was going to ask you about, given your financial oversight role, I don't know if you saw, but and we talked to Steve Leeson about this earlier, Elon Musk out critiquing just what he thinks are the absurdly overstaffed Federal Reserve. I talked to Jay Powell about the prospect of DOGE being involved in the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve technically is an independent organization and is, quote unquote, self-funded. Do you have a view about all this?
Look, the Fed makes its decisions about its staffing. It's got hundreds of PhD economists. How many do you need to develop a forecast? That's an open question, I guess, for the Fed Board of Governors to think about how they're staffed. But what I like about DOGE is that they're going to ask questions, and they're going to pitch some of those questions to Congress from an oversight point of view and a legislative point of view. And they're going to point out things that maybe the executive branch can do through the Office of Management and Budget or through the president. I think that's healthy. I think we should have new views on how government works. And I think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are two great guys to try to point out and ask questions about how they see government working or not working.